Ready for a deep dive into Exodus.
Always.
This time we're looking at chapters 18 and 19.
Okay.
And let me tell you, talk about a fascinating blend of leadership lessons and, well, let's just say, profound encounters.
It's incredible how these ancient stories still resonate so strongly today, right?
It really is. Okay, so picture this. Exodus 18, Moses is leading the Israelites. He's the leader.
Right. The go-to guy for, well, an entire nation.
And it's not just about leading, it's about judging, advising.
People lining up day in and day out with their problems, their disputes, their questions.
Can you imagine? Talk about leadership burnout.
Absolutely. Even Moses, as strong as he was, starts feeling the pressure.
And that's where Jethro comes in, right?
Exactly. Moses' father-in-law, Jethro, he sees what's going on.
Sees Moses drowning in responsibility.
Yeah, and he offers this incredibly wise piece of advice. Delegate.
Delegate. It sounds so simple, right?
It does, but in practice, especially on this scale, it's a game changer.
So how does Jethro recommend Moses actually do this? How do you delegate leadership to an entire nation?
It's brilliant, really. Jethro tells Moses to appoint judges, capable, trustworthy people from among the Israelites. And he says to create a system, a tiered system of judgment.
That's a hierarchy.
Exactly, just like we have in modern courts or even in businesses.
Interesting.
Some judges would handle smaller issues, everyday disputes within their groups. That way, not everything needs to go all the way up to Moses.
Makes sense. Keeps things manageable.
Right. Then you have others, more senior judges, handling the bigger, more complex cases, and only the most difficult ones, the ones that really require Moses' unique insight and authority, those are the ones that land on his plate.
Wow. They practically invented the organizational chart back then. It's incredible how this ancient system mirrors so much of what we consider like modern management principles.
And that's exactly why Jethro's advice is timeless. It's about working smarter, not harder, distributing responsibility, empowering others to step up.
And preventing leaders from burning out under the weight of it all, which is such a relevant message even now, thousands of years later.
Absolutely, because true leadership isn't about doing everything yourself. It's about empowering others to lead as well.
It's amazing that Moses, who could have easily dismissed Jethro's advice, actually listened and put it into practice.
It shows real humility, don't you think? A willingness to learn and adapt, even when you're already in a position of power. But now, if we move on to Exodus 19, get ready for a complete shift in gears.
From organizational charts to, well, let's just say divine encounters.
You could say that again.
Yeah.
It goes from the practicalities of leadership to, well, God deciding to make a grand entrance. And trust me, this is not a subtle entrance.
Yeah, it's bad.
The Israelites arrive at Mount Sinai, and the stage is set for an experience that's well beyond anything we can probably imagine.
Okay, I have to ask, what happens next? How does this grand entrance actually unfold?
Well, imagine this. Thunder and lightning, right?
Yeah, dramatic.
A massive cloud descends upon Mount Sinai.
Setting the scene.
But here's the thing. A trumpet sounds.
Okay.
But not just any trumpet sound.
Go on.
This sound is so powerful, so intense, it literally shakes the mountain.
Whoa. Talk about making an entrance.
Right. This isn't just someone politely knocking on the door.
No kidding.
This is about the Israelites and, honestly, us as readers understanding the sheer power of God.
I can only imagine being there.
It's about experiencing that power firsthand.
So where's Moses during all of this? What's he up to while the mountain is literally shaking?
Moses is told to go up the mountain.
To meet God.
Exactly.
But even Moses, I mean, he was chosen by God, right? There's still boundaries even for him.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Even Moses has to maintain a respectful distance. He's given very specific instructions.
It's like there are levels of access, even for someone like Moses.
Right. It really highlights this idea that holiness is powerful. It demands reverence and respect.
It's like you were saying before, those moments of preparation, they were about more than just, outward appearances. It's about recognizing that you're about to encounter something truly awesome.
Yes, and something that has the power to change you.
You can't just, stroll into the presence of the divine.
It requires a shift in mindset, a recognition of the magnitude of what's happening.
I could see that.
And that's something we often forget, even in our modern lives, right? We rush from one thing to the next.
Always on to the next thing.
And we forget to pause, to prepare ourselves for those bigger moments, those encounters that have the potential to transform us.
It makes you wonder what we miss out on when we don't take the time to prepare ourselves to really be present.
It's like the difference between just hearing a piece of music and actually listening to it, letting it wash over you.
I love that analogy.
It's about being present in the moment, fully engaged.
So how can we apply that to our lives today? I mean, we're not all climbing mountains to meet God.
True. But maybe we can still approach our lives, our work, even our relationships with that same sense of reverence, you know?
Like, be intentional about how you show up.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that even in the ordinary, even in those everyday moments, there's an opportunity for something more, for connection, for growth.
Instead of just going through the motions.
Yeah. You know, we may not have mountains shaking around us.
Thankfully, right.
But the potential for those aha moments, those experiences that shift something within us.
They're all around us if we just open ourselves to them. And speaking of those aha moments, it makes me think about Moses coming down from Mount Sinai.
Oh, right.
He has this incredible encounter with God.
Talk about a life-changing experience.
Exactly. But then he has to come back down, back to the reality of leading the Israelites, guiding them.
And that's a challenge we all face in a way, right? How do we take those powerful experiences, those moments of clarity or insight, and actually integrate them into our everyday lives?
It's like coming back from an amazing retreat, or even just finishing a really inspiring book.
You feel so motivated, so clear on things.
But then real life kind of takes over.
And the challenge is figuring out how to hold on to that feeling, that energy, even amidst the mundane.
So it's not just about having those mountaintop experiences, but about bridging the gap between those extraordinary moments and the reality of our everyday lives.
Exactly. How do we bring that sense of reverence, of awe into the everyday? How do we let it inform our choices, our interactions, our work?
It's like you said earlier, it's about choosing to see the extraordinary in the ordinary.
Because it's there. We just have to be open to it. Well, I think we've done a pretty deep dive today.
We really have. We've covered leadership, delegation, divine encounters, and even a little bit about finding the extraordinary in the everyday.
All packed into a couple of chapters of Exodus. Who knew?
It's amazing what you can find when you take the time to really dive in. And on that note, we'll leave you with this. Where do you find those moments of awe in your own life?
What helps you connect with something larger than yourself?
Keep those questions in mind as you go about your week. And until next time, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
See you next time.